Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you're new here, I'm Jordan Bonaparte, and Keep Canada Weird is the venue in which my pal Aaron Airport and I seek out and explore the more offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the past week. In tonight's episode, which we recorded on March 5th of 2024, Aaron and I discuss the future of food retail and address controversy related to statements we made on last week's show. Tonight, you'll hear about the cruel way Tim Hortons is experimenting on the people of Prince Edward Island. You'll hear us discuss the facial recognition vending machine that's freaking out the student body at the University of Waterloo. You'll listen in as we contemplate Wendy's plans to explore surge pricing. And yes, we will transparently address the situation that seems to have divided the Keep Canada Weird army of listeners. So let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport. I'm speechless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you just said a few things there, so you're clearly not speechless.
I'm pretty damn close, buddy. We stepped in it. We don't need to jump right into it. Let's ease in. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm getting settled into a new place here. As we talked about last week, making a bit of a move in my life. So
You sprung it on me last week that you're moving, and now here you are sounding all hollow and weird in a big empty place.
yeah, the place is a little empty. I don't have anything up on the walls yet, so I apologize to the KCW listeners if I sound echoey and ghostly and less handsome airportery than I normally do.
If you're even handsome, but we'll get to that.
Well, we'll get to that. One of the many controversial items we need to approach tonight.
Yeah, I just have to ask how your cat is dealing with the move. I know for children and cats and dogs, it's weird to move.
He did pretty well. Cats are they're territorial, but they're also, their life is just rituals. You know, they just like to do the same thing every day. They love consistency. And when you break that consistency, it really frazzles them. And, you know, the car ride is terrifying enough for him. And then I bring him into this new place and he gets low to the ground and he just goes in every nook and cranny as quickly as possible to try and scope out this place.
Just take it all in.
But the thing that he's the most attracted to is the cupboards. I can just hear cupboards banging all night long.
Well, I'm sure he'll settle in and he'll begin to take it all in stride, much like we'll have to settle in and take in stride the controversy we found ourselves ensnared in. If you recall last week, on the last episode, there was one thing that I thought was a little risque, was when we talked about the whole glory hole trickster, sex trickster in Toronto. And you even said we're going to have to edit all this out. I didn't edit that out. I left it in and I kind of thought is this too much for some people? I don't know if it was. I haven't heard from anyone that had any problem with it. And there was really no response to any of the sexual talk we had. There was something else on the episode that was very controversial and we upset a whole bunch of people. We talked about the story of the woman who was riding her horse around town. And you had some strong opinions about whether horses should be on roads and all this sort of thing. I had no fears about that section of the episode being broadcast to Keep Canada Weird Nation. But oh my God, I don't recall another time we got more feedback about one specific statement or mistake that we made. And this goes, and I'm including the Reese versus Rhesus controversy of, I guess that was 2023.
I think that would have been 2022, actually, the Reese versus Reese's debate.
Yeah. So let's just own it. I believe we made a mistake, and oh goodness, the listeners let us know. Throughout this episode, I will play voice memos we received all about the same topic. This we will call egg versus EGGGate. Do you want to... do you want to explain like what we believe the mistake is, and then maybe I'll play one of the voicemails, and we'll just kind of bounce back and forth between this as we go.
So last week in this story, as we do with most of the stories, is we play the news broadcast leading into us talking about the story.
Mhm.
Within the news broadcast, I think it was the mayor who said we're a small egg town.
We're the town of High River. We're a small ag-based community. Shelby's more than welcome to ride her horse in through town.
And we assumed that would mean like it's a town whose economy is based on like the egg industry or something.
Yeah, well, I didn't quite hear him say that. You had brought it up when we were talking about it, like, oh,
Don't backpedal. Let's own this.
hey, now I have my own battles to battle here, but as we'll get to later on in this episode. But you had brought it up while we were talking about it. I didn't recall hearing it, but I did go back and listen, because when you said, "Oh, it's an egg town," they must be, an economy based off of selling eggs or whatever it was that you had said, and
Yeah.
I just took that as truth. I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, eggs. People sell eggs. Well, why can't a town's economy be based purely and solely around eggs?"
Let's hear what the mayor probably was referring to, because we have a whole lot of voice messages from people letting us know what he was actually saying.
Right.
We can kind of maybe rate them, I suppose. Let's see. Here's how Ruth corrected us.
Oh, hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Ruth from Vermilion, Alberta. I'm quite a bit farther north than where High River is, but you were thinking that they said egg, but in actual fact, it would be an ag society, meaning agriculture. So a lot of people down there have horses. Anyway, I do enjoy your program. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's how you do it.
Perfect. Well executed, articulate, precise, polite, caring, loving, soft, tender.
There's just a soft correction. Just so you guys know, it's not a big deal. Like here's
not
a
sure
little
if you
correction.
got hundreds of voicemails about this yet. However, I do want to point out that it's ag, not egg.
Ruth, I appreciate you. Thank you for the correction. Let's do one more and then we'll get into the stories. Here is Sherry, who's correcting us from North Dakota.
Hey Jordan, this is Sherry in North Dakota again. Long time no talk. Anyway, just listen to your story about the lady riding the horse. It's not eggs, my dear. She said egg, like agriculture. Someone's probably already told you this, but love you guys. Bye.
I thought Sherry did an all right job. There was a little bit of a condescending vibe to it.
A touch, but I like that she corrected herself in the end. Like someone's probably already told you this, so this could be pointless for me to say. But like when I re-listened to the episode, this guy sounds like he's saying egg.
Okay, so maybe it's on him.
Small ag-based community.
I think it's the way he really hit it hard as saying egg.
Okay. Well, we will come back to this issue. It is going to be every story we tell tonight is going to be bookended by the egg versus ag controversy. What we're really here to do tonight is keep Canada weird by seeking out and highlighting and maybe rolling our eyes at, maybe laughing at, maybe fearing for the future at the unique and offbeat stories that played out across Canada over the last week. And in tonight's episode, I think the theme that I've discovered or that we've happened upon seems to be the future of food retail.
Yeah, I was thinking just the future, but yeah, of food retail, sure.
Mm-hmm. There is a series of articles, all unrelated, that involve cutting edge technology and the future of food. And it's not always a good news. Should we start with Tim Hortons? Should we start with facial recognition? Do you want to start with Wendy's? We got a lot to get
There's
into.
so much to get into. Let's get the fast food ones out of the way. Let's do Tim's and Wendy's, because I think they're owned by the same company, aren't they?
No, they're not.
No?
Tim's is owned by Tim's parent company also owns Burger King. That's probably what you're thinking of. If I'm wrong and Wendy's is owned by the same parent that owns Tim Hortons, I apologize to everyone I've offended.
The best approach is just to assume what you're saying is wrong and assume that you're going to get a tidal wave of voicemails over it. And then that way, if you only get 2 or 3 voicemails about it, you're pleasantly surprised and you're having a good day.
Here we go. Here's our story. This came from a member of Keep Canada Weird Nation. This is Rob, who gave us the tip to look into the story of Tim Hortons doing some weird experimental testing on the people of Prince Edward Island. Tim Hortons is using Prince Edward Islanders as lab rats in their latest attempt to make their coffee worse. They're testing new compostable lids on the island, and the reviews do not seem to be mixed. People are not happy. Listen to this.
Maritimers take our Timmies very seriously, and this change has brewed up plenty of controversy.
How'd you get that lid? I had to buy it.
Many of us can't start the day without our double-double. But for some here on Prince Edward Island, they say that morning ritual has started to taste a little bit like cardboard.
You taste the cover? Oh, I don't like it.
Tim Hortons is testing new plastic-free fiber coffee lids on PEI. The cups started rolling out last week, and now pretty much every Tim's on the island is using them. They're recyclable when clean and compostable when dirty. It's a 12-week pilot project, which the company says will help them develop a customer and environmentally friendly lid. The coffee giant says it's a sustainable way to move forward.
One thing that we know is that this is a big change for Islanders, and it's a big change to the experience for a guest.
It hasn't been without criticism.
The garbage. They're no good. They need to go back to the original ones.
This isn't the first time Tim's has changed their lids, replacing the classic lids in 2019. And that's what some diehards still want.
I want to go back to the old lids.
Many have started just taking the lids off or replacing them with the old plastic lids they still have around.
Tim Hortons lids are no good. They're garbage. McDonald's lids are the way to go. No more Tim Hortons coffee, unless I got a McDonald's cup.
For these Islanders at least, the end of the test can't come soon enough.
Perfect.
Tim Hortons says they'll take the feedback and refine the design. They won't know until the trial is over if a national rollout will be the next step or if more testing is needed. Of course, some people are in favor of the new lids, agreeing that a compostable cover is better for the environment. Tim Hortons says they're handing out about 10,000 per day, and as for complaints, are about where they expected they'd be.
It does seem like they're using Islanders as guinea pigs, and they even make it clear in their statement to the media, like, you know, complaints are about where we thought they would be. This is just, we're experimenting. Like, could they not just have a focus group? Because I'm sure if you get 30 people in a room and be like, try these new lids, they'll be like, tastes like cardboard.
Yeah. Have you not tried it? Like, why wouldn't they try it themselves first and be like, you know what, just as a common sense human being, I can decide that these lids are awful. But they don't, they roll it out to an entire province. Like normally, like if they're testing a new product or whatever, it's a very small market that they'll test it in, roll it out there, see what the kinks are, see what the feedback is, and then move forward with their decision making there. This was an entire province that they rolled it out to.
Because I do get the need to have a different style of lid that isn't plastic. Like that could be good, and you could throw the whole cup and lid in a compost bin. Like that would be pretty sweet. But not if it's like what this lid is for people who are listening and don't see the video is the lid looks like when you get a to-go tray from like Tim Hortons, and it's that kind of like, it looks like a bunch of cardboard that was just like kind of mashed together and like shaped. It kind of looks like the lid is made out of that stuff, like the takeout tray.
Almost like it's almost like an egg carton kind of material.
And like an agriculture carton?
Not to bring up eggs again. Sorry about that. I know.
Yeah, like an agriculture carton.
Yeah, but it's Tim Hortons to me, in my mind, has never mastered lids. They haven't mastered many things, but most things, I guess. But lids is something that I've always had a big problem with Tim Hortons. The lids leaked, and then now these new lids probably leak and disintegrate in your mouth, apparently. So,
Yeah. Tim Hortons has no business trying to be on the cutting edge of packaging.
No.
Like they should let someone more capable. They have their own problems to worry about. They should let someone else more capable deal with the appropriate way to package coffee, and then they
It's
should
like they're
copy
trying to
them.
reinvent wheels that they haven't invented yet. Make I keep saying this every time we talk about Tim Hortons, but just focus on making the coffee better. Once the coffee is good,
Mhm.
then you can branch out into exploring other ideas.
I think they could take a lesson from us and take in the criticism and corrections you get from your listeners or your consumers and learn from it and grow. And that's what we're going to do. So far, we've heard from Ruth and Sherry with some feedback on last week's episode. Let's hear from Beth in Alberta. And let's see if we can learn and grow from this.
Hi, fellas. This is Beth from Alberta. I'm just listening to your High River podcast. And just to clarify, the ag, the egg comment is actually agriculture, not egg. So that makes a difference in your story. There's nothing egg about it. It's agriculture as far as...
Well, it cut
As
off there,
far
but
as
we get your
she's
point.
concerned, is that what
Beth,
she was trying to say at the end there?
yeah, yeah. Well delivered, thoughtful. I thought that was a great piece of feedback, and that's what
And it's
I think you would
consistent
expect.
with the feedback that we've heard so far, the reasonable feedback that we've heard that we're taking to heart, and we're planning on bettering ourselves with this feedback.
Ruth is still my favorite bit of feedback, but we'll see. We got a whole bunch more, so there's
And my favorite, I feel, is coming later, but yeah.
okay, we'll see. So the story with Tim Hortons' new lids, we talked about them having no business being on the cutting edge of food packaging or food in general. This next story is going to take us right to the cutting edge. This involves, and I love this story, so let's just get the criticisms, the bad vibes from the mistake we made last week off of us, and let's start fresh with a story of the facial recognition vending machine. This came in from Mary in Guelph, who contacted the show with this story that's coming out of the University of Waterloo. The school is home to many futuristic-looking vending machines that have large LCD screens that are bright and colorful and draw you in as you walk past. But what really captured the attention of the student body is not the large LCD on the front of the vending machine. It was an error message that appeared on the LCD screen. The error message referenced a failure in the unit's facial recognition software. And that caught the attention of many students, and oddly enough, it was the school newspaper that really dug into it and broke the story. And this is a crazy one.
Sticky tack with chewing gum, with Post-it notes, doing anything to cover these sensors because we know they are here.
A simple solution to a futuristic problem. River Stanley says students at the University of Waterloo believe this hole in the vending machine houses a camera. Someone noticed a message displayed on the screen a few weeks ago showing an error with a facial recognition app.
We wouldn't have known if it weren't for the application error. There's no warning here.
Stanley says these kind of vending machines can be found all over campus, and once a post about the error message was made online, it became a big topic of discussion among students.
Students start investigating. Over the next day, people are finding these sales brochures where you can see this particular model of vending machine comes with demographic data sensing capabilities.
The company that provides the machines, Adaria Vending Services Limited, says in an email it is a fulfillment service provider and does not own or manufacture these machines, nor have any access to this type of data from the machines. The machines are owned by Mars, and the manufacturer is Invenda. Invenda did not respond to our requests for comment, but Stanley wrote an article for university publication Math News, Invenda telling him the demographic detection software integrated into the smart vending machine operates entirely locally, adding it does not engage in storage, communication, or transmission of any imagery or personally identifiable information. According to Invenda's website, the smart vending machines can detect the presence of a person, their estimated age and gender.
Kind of shocked just because I mean, it's a vending machine, and I don't really think they need to be taking facial recognition. It is a university campus, so I feel like the general demographic is young adults, late teens, early 20s.
According to the University of Waterloo, the university has asked that these machines be removed from campus as soon as possible. In the meantime, they've asked that the software be disabled. CTV News did reach out to Mars, but did not receive a response in time for broadcast. Stanley says if the university does not remove the machines, he'll be filing a complaint to the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario.
One slight update to that story is I did see, since we prepared this, the complaint was actually put through to the Privacy Commissioner of Ontario. But just to recap it in layman's terms, because a lot of that, I don't know if I'm crazy, but a lot of that went over my head. But ultimately, the vending machine has a little hole drilled in it.
It looks like, not to interrupt, but it looks crudely drilled as well. It doesn't look like
like
a tiny little hole that you wouldn't notice. It looks like somebody took a little drill gun and drilled a hole in there and stuck their own camera in or something.
That is how it looks. You can even see how the paint's kind of chipped away around the hole and stuff.
It reminds me of those, and we've covered a story about Airbnbs that have hidden cameras in them and stuff like that. It reminds me of that, the way that this hole is kind of drilled in, and as if somebody had just kind of put a camera in there themselves.
Yeah, so someone sees the error on message on the screen showing facial recognition software is having a problem. Someone finds this little hole with the camera in it. The school newspaper seems to take on the investigation, and there's more to it than what comes out in that article. Is the voice of the student that we hear in the article, the first guy that's talking. He seems to really take on the investigation, and he's contacting the manufacturer, looking up technical details about this specific vending machine. And it seems like it's him that does the work and kind of breaks the story. But CTV News, they get statements from these different companies, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. Like Mars, I think, is the candy company. They're saying we don't own the machine. The company that owns the machine says we're a fulfillment service, so we don't have anything to do with the machines. So it seems like, well, what's the point of this camera? Who put the camera in there after the machine was built? Because someone is using that data for something, and it can't be just to detect the presence of somebody. What the hell is going on here?
I have a theory.
Okay, I figured you would.
Yeah. So, you referred to it as the school newspaper, which I think you'll probably get a lot of voicemails about. I would more describe it as a school newspaper.
Oh, is there more than one? What do you mean?
It's math news. That's not the school newspaper. That is math news is not a university's school paper, right? That's not covering everything in the school. It's math news. It should be covering math, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody.
But maybe
everybody in that university is there for math.
No, but I think what probably happened is some keen, budding investigative journalist found this issue, and the only platform they had to investigate it was maybe their access to math news. And they're like, well, this is, it's not every major story is not broken by the paper of record. Sometimes it's up for the little independents like math news to blow the lid off of something.
But sometimes stories are created or embellished to sell newspapers, right? So you're looking at a crudely drilled hole with a camera inside of it into a vending machine. You have the vending machine company and Mars both claiming that they don't even own the machine. And you have what I assume is a school newspaper, math news, that has probably the lowest readership of a newspaper that you're going to find on any university campus, right?
Math news. That's a good point. Just a couple nerds will read it.
So math news probably started, and they're publishing.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just thinking, how good is there even news in math? Because so much math stuff was just figured out hundreds of years ago. Math
is math. It just exists. It just is what it is. You learn it. what breaking news is there in the world of math other than most of us can't do it and some of us can? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So this math news needs readership, right? So how are they going to within the world of math increase their readership within this university? They have to create some news. So they go to this vending machine, they drill a hole, they put a camera in, maybe even they hack into it and they get this error code message up, I mean,
if anyone can hack a vending machine, it's the readers of math news.
And this student that was speaking on behalf of apparently all students in this university who, works for math news. So he sounded in the way he was speaking, very prepared, as if he had this all written down, because he was even stumbling through it, not in the way that somebody is kind of improvising or speaking from the heart or just kind of off the cuff. He was speaking as if like he had this all planned out, and he's like, okay, here's the things that I need to say in order to sell more copies of Math News and bring all the readers and the nation's attention to Math News. And it's like, well, if you like that story about cameras and vending machines and Math News, well, you'll also love our story about pi,
Pi graphs. Yeah.
I was thinking pi as in, what was it, 3.14?
Oh, I was thinking pi graphs, but yeah, I know.
I'm getting way too deep in for myself in terms of math, like, because we're going to get voicemails about this. Well, pi is actually blah, 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 not eggs.
Yeah, you could be right. I think it is just a case of the never-ending battle to get as much information about everybody as possible. The world has gone nuts with data and information and facial recognition and AI and all this other stuff. This is a segue to our next story, because we're going to hear how maybe some of what is going on with this machine is also going to be happening at Wendy's restaurants. But before we get to that, let's check in with some more listeners. Let's move on to an anonymous message. These are always interesting. Well, here's an anonymous bit of feedback.
Just a little correction. High River mayor had said it was an ag society or town, which means it's relying on agriculture. High River has a very large meat processing plant called Cargill in it, and there's lots of ranchers, green farmers around it. So just a little correction. Thank you.
Okay, I like that. That was,
yeah.
They gave the correction and then they gave a little bit of information to support. Like, I'm not crazy thinking it's an ag as in agriculture. There's this, there's a lot of farmers or whatever. Anonymous listener, thank you for being respectful about a mistake.
Yeah, I'd like to say this to Anonymous. There was, yes, a little correction there that Anonymous had given us, but also a little bit of aggression too. Could you hear the aggression in Anonymous' voice?
I feel like she had the tone that as if they just like maybe walked up a flight of stairs. So they were just kind of catching their breath and kind of trying to talk while maybe being a little bit short on breath. Yeah. That's what it sounded like to me. I didn't feel any ill will or even frustration. I think it was maybe just a question of they wanted to leave the voicemail, but their phone was upstairs or something, so they had to quickly jot up there.
That could have been it. The tone to me sounded like Anonymous had called in to leave a voicemail, got just blind with rage, screaming into the phone about agriculture and meat plants and horses and manure and all of the things that needed to be corrected about what we said last week, and then finished recording that voicemail and regretted it immediately. Like, no, I flew off the handle. I've been getting, counseling about this, about my rage and anger management. And my therapist said I need to just relax and communicate. So then called back, left a voicemail in a calm way, but you could still, the rage still hadn't quite subsided yet. And you could still hear a little bubbling.
Before we get to the next story, let's hear someone. I believe this bit of feedback is from somebody who's very calm. Here's John's correction. And if I remember correctly, John was he was seated comfortably and in full breath for his message.
Hey guys, love the show. I found it pretty funny in the last episode when you were talking about the horse being ridden on the city streets, that you brought up the mayor stating it was a small egg town and then pondered the fact that they must produce a lot of eggs there. I think it's quite obvious that what he meant was it's a small ag town, as in small agriculture. So evidently what they produce there is baby carrots, cherry tomatoes, pickling cucumbers, tiny corn. Small agriculture, not small eggs. Anyhow, thanks for the great show. Always entertaining.
Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm. I like everything was small there. It was great.
Any voicemail that lists off like potatoes and carrots, and I'm here for that.
Yeah, it sounded like he found my grocery list. I was like, where'd you get that?
How do you know that? He's hacked into the vending machine you use, and
my
machine followed you home.
My refrigerator has facial recognition software that feeds right to John.
It's only a matter of time. Mm-hmm. Let's get into the next story, and then we'll get back to some more voicemail. This one's interesting. So, again, get in your mind the situation with the vending machine using facial recognition for God knows what purpose. I think this next story can maybe give us some information about how that kind of data can be used, because Wendy seems to be taking it to the next level. Some recent statements by Wendy's leadership gives us a view into the future of food retail nonsense, and it does not look great. Wendy's is investing heavily in dynamic menus that can quickly change throughout the day based on customer buying patterns, the weather, and a whole bunch of other factors. But it's not just the menu items that will fluctuate. They're also said to be experimenting with surge pricing. Let's listen to the article, then we'll try to break this down, because this is a complicated one.
So just how much are you willing to pay for a Wendy's cheeseburger or the new Baconator? The difference in price may depend on the time of day. Wendy's will test a new marketing strategy next year called dynamic pricing. Like airlines, Uber, and Lyft ride sharing, prices at the burger chain will fluctuate, charging higher prices when demand is high, like lunch and the dinner rush hour, and less when demand is low.
Wendy's is experimenting with this test to try to really make more money and lower operating costs. I think it's not going to work. I think it'll be perceived through society as being greedy.
And before you can say, "Where's the beef?" people are asking, "Where's the fairness?"
Okay, bad idea. Bad idea. But again, I would say fast food is a bad idea.
I can always go for a Frosty with some a large fry as well.
But if they have surge pricing, will you still order it?
It's going to be tough.
I think it's a great business strategy. I think as a consumer, I think it's crazy.
Wendy says it's just trying to stay competitive and profitable in the fast food industry, investing $20 million to launch digital menu boards so customers can see what their meal will cost in real time.
I don't think anyone's going to pay extra for the exact same thing that they were getting for less.
Uber-fying fast food is a risky move, say marketing experts. The burger backlash on social media is harsh, accusing Wendy's of gouging themselves out of business. There are even threats of a boycott. And fear that other fast food chains could follow and put surge pricing on its menus. It's a lot to chew on.
So we hear of I guess I would describe it as a futuristic way of operating a fast food restaurant, where the idea is throughout the day, the pricing can fluctuate based on how busy they are, but also the menu options can fluctuate in real time. Things like on a cold day, maybe the menu will be more prominently advertising their coffee offerings, as an example. Or maybe at lunch hour, when it's very busy, the prices of items will go up. At night, when they're slower and they want to bring people in, the prices will go down. Much like an Uber. I don't use Uber often, but they call it surge pricing. The more demand, the more expensive it is. When I think of this story and what Wendy's is proposing, that calls back to that M&M story in some way, like just using data and information in real time for some kind of marketing purpose. All I can think of is with the M&M's thing. Maybe it sees your face and it guesses that you're an older person. I don't know, you're 60 years old or something. Maybe that M&M's machine can put something on the screen that may better appeal to a 60-year-old. Where take that same idea, put it on the Wendy's menu board. Maybe if you walk up and it can tell that you're 60 years old, it's going to, promote something that a 60-year-old may better appreciate. It's kind of what I'm thinking is happening here. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me actually, because you see, we talked about Uber already, how they use surge pricing, but also you see it in hotels, hotel
Airlines.
pricing, airlines. It's all seasonal based. So when demand is high, prices are high. When demand is low, prices are low, and so it's just a matter of getting people accustomed to that. Kind of, because we're not used to that in the food industry, the fast food industry, but
maybe not blatantly used to it, but you do see it in some ways with if they're trying to promote like a new product, they have the price really low because the demand's not high for said new product. They'll increase the demand through pricing, and they do stuff like this. It's just not as blatant, but I don't like the idea, but I do think it's probably an idea that will eventually happen and catch on.
Yeah, and when they put a word like dynamic on it, that's the blanket to cover up, the thing that they don't want to flat out say. They don't want to say surge pricing. They want to call it dynamic pricing. Yeah.
I think surge pricing kind of implies that there's going to be like a surcharge when it's really busy, but what they're calling it dynamic because there's also going to be a time when it's lower. So if you go in there at 2 a.m. or something, and there's just 2 workers with nothing to do, they're going to give you the product for a lot cheaper because it's cheaper to create it at that time of day rather than, at rush hour when they have a whole team of people whipping stuff up, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's the core idea of it.
Yeah.
It's just when demand is high, the prices are higher. When it's lower, it's lower. But this turns into kind of a, who was it? Global News that covered this story. That
I think so.
Yeah,
let's call it Global News.
Sure. Yeah, but I think this story would be better approached by a news outfit that can handle the dynamic mathematical.
Here we go.
Side of this story, and that's Math News.
At the University of Waterloo.
That's right. Yeah. So I think instead of them focusing on these kind of vending machine Terminator robots that they've been, kind of making up themselves, they should focus on a real math related story and cover that in Math News. So that way they get kind of a current inflationary kind of story that is really hot button with people. And that's something that people care about, that they don't have to make up themselves to bring readers to Math News.
And this has a lot more to do with math than the privacy implications of the facial recognition software, because this is specifically about pricing.
Yeah, Math News should be all over this story, but instead they're inventing robots that want to just know what you're buying.
Let's move on from this story to more listener feedback. Your skin still thick?
It's been thick since I was born.
Okay. I don't know if you'll need it because our next bit of feedback comes from Liz, and I think she's not going to go too hard on us. Here it comes.
Great.
Hey, I was listening to your Keep Canada Weird about the High River horse, and the mayor says ag town, as in agriculture town. Ag town. So Eggtown, I guess, would be included in that, but no, Eggtown is not a phrase. He said Agtown. That's my contribution.
That's my contribution.
The society in general. Yeah.
It's a valuable contribution, Liz, and not just because you're giving us feedback we can grow, learn, and develop from, but she makes a very good point. Wouldn't eggs be like agriculture as well?
Yeah, eggs would be. Yeah, it's included in that.
Yeah, so did we not make a mistake?
And also, not to attack Liz here, but also, he didn't say ag the way that Liz drew it out. When you listen to it, it sounds like egg. It sounds like egg. It's not, he didn't say, we're in a small ag town, short for agriculture. How about just say agriculture? How about just say what it is? Why
a farming community, or we're an
agriculture town. Why so lazy?
I've never heard that abbreviation, like calling it an egg.
Yeah, and we're not from that part of the country, I guess, so it leaves us ignorant on the terminology, but just say agriculture so we all know what you're talking about.
We have one more bit of feedback. We're going to save the best, maybe the worst. Mm-hmm. We're going to save the most interesting for last. Let's move on to the final story of the night. This does not involve the future of food. This is, I guess, a snapshot from the animal uprising is how I'm going to describe this. There's a little bit of vigilante justice in this story. There's some turkeys, or at least a turkey in this story. There's a mayor who is much like the mayor of High River. Remember, we praised the mayor of High River not because of his pronunciation, but because of his willingness to just meet with the horse lady and just settle it there on the street with a handshake. The mayor of this, in this next story, also kind of takes a unique approach to a problem. This is a story we're going to have to read. If you have the notes there, you can read it. If not, I got it.
I can get the notes up pretty quickly. A wild turkey raged a campaign of terror in the small town of Louisville, Quebec, over the last 3 weeks, but it was killed Thursday morning by a sharp-eyed man armed with a slingshot, mayor says. The mayor said the young male turkey was part of a group that wandered into the eastern section of the municipality, but the problem turkey quickly became more aggressive than its companions, routinely chasing residents, and once attacking a man in a wheelchair, the mayor recalled. A video circulating on social media shot by someone in the town shows a seemingly panicked man running circles around a parked vehicle with a turkey in pursuit. The situation even led families to fear bringing their children to school, the mayor said. He said he asked provincial wildlife protection officials for help earlier this week, but that when his plea failed to prompt action, he issued a public call for someone to take down the bird. And someone did, using a slingshot. The man who killed the animal planned to cook and eat it for supper Thursday. The mayor is keeping his feet, however, so he can show off the sharp talons. Oh, geez. To who? Like to a warning to the other turkeys, or anyway?
I think it's the one thing to talk about. Someone comes into his mayor's city hall and says, "Did you guys hear about the turkey?
See that? See those feet hanging up on my wall? That's a turkey that we shot with a slingshot here." Anyway.
Okay, keep going. There's a couple of paragraphs left where it really gets good.
Okay, Quebec allows wild turkey hunting only on specific dates in the spring and fall, and the mayor is protecting the identity of the man who killed the animal for fear of reprisals. But the mayor shrugged off the possibility that he could face any legal action for encouraging the killing of the animal. At some point, you have to defend yourself, he said. In a statement, Quebec provincial police said that they have determined the killing of the turkey did not constitute a crime. The provincial government department responsible for wildlife said officials are investigating the incident.
So when the mayor couldn't get the job done, he all but encouraged vigilante justice, and I think through a Facebook post where he's like, someone should kill that turkey.
Yeah.
And someone and of all the ways to kill it with a slingshot kind of seems... I don't know. That's a little. Is it barbaric? Is there not a better way to kill something like that?
It's
Unless you hit it right in the head.
But if you have somebody in your town that is so good with a slingshot that you know they're going to get it, then
Are
why
people
wouldn't you reach out to that person?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know how you properly euthanize a troublesome turkey around town. I watched the video of the turkey chasing the man around a car that's described in that article, and it's pretty vicious, this thing. The turkey is chasing a man, and he's kind of looping around a car to to keep his distance from the turkey. And meanwhile, he's grabbing snow off the car and throwing the snow at the turkey, trying to scare it away. So this thing is vicious, but yeah, problem solved, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to be in the town to understand the resources that the town has available to them, where maybe a lot of the citizens that live there, this slingshot's pretty much our only way to deal with anything in this town.
The most defenseless town in Canada.
We have one police officer, and he carries a slingshot.
Yeah.
Sounds like an ag town to me.
Certainly. What do you think of this idea of a pack of turkeys just kind of wandered into town? I don't get that either. I guess that happens in that part of the country.
Well, it's happening not just with turkeys, but it's happening with wild animals a lot in lots of urban centers everywhere. You're seeing animals getting closer and closer to humans, more comfortable with humans. Their food is running short where they are, so they're going to where there is food. And that's just the way it's going to be.
Between the future of food retail and the future of the animal uprising, we got a lot to worry about.
Oh, and slingshots.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? The most real and present danger, at least to you and I, may be the next bit of feedback we get. Mm-hmm. Of all the feedback we received about the egg versus EGGGate, there was really only two scathing pieces. The first was sent as an anonymous voicemail. Here it comes.
Yeah.
First time caller, long time listener. Listen, there's no way you don't know what egg is. Agriculture, egg. This is why the animals are going to take over. People like you. I suggest you leave Cape Breton and Halifax and go to Canada, the rest of Canada, all of Canada. Check out the farms, maybe grab a Tim's. They're not that bad over here. I think it's just your Tim's. I suggest you also do some research, like how to spell or say Trafalgar. Trafalgar. It's not that hard. If you guys got out more, maybe you would learn things. This is how it works. You get out, you learn, and then you put it on your podcast, not the other way around. Cheers. I really hope you have a good day. I don't really know what's going on with your chicken of the sea over there, but like I said, it's agriculture here in the rest of Canada.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So does this offend you? Do you think that's feedback is constructive and we can learn from it?
It's not constructive feedback. No, just basically, I don't think this person really understands what this podcast is. And it sounds like she listens to it on a regular basis.
I didn't get the Trafalgar.
I didn't get that either, but she seems to be familiar with the animal uprising. So she must be a somewhat regular listener to the show. Yeah. To reference the animal uprising. So,
and this is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah. So
understanding.
But people who I'm only assuming, but people who listen to the show aren't listening because you and I are experts on any of the things that we're talking about.
I hope not, but maybe.
Or if that expectation is there, then that listener stopped listening a long time ago, because we have never once claimed to be experts on any of the subjects that we talk about. We just simply react to stories, and we're two friends. We like weird stories. We react to them. If you enjoy listening to that, great. If you don't, like her blood is boiling, like
Yeah, I think she's looking for CBC The National and
Yeah.
ended up at Keep Canada Weird.
Yeah, this is not the BBC, This is, we don't really know a lot about anything. I mean, we admitted last week we hardly know anything about sex.
That's true.
That was something that you and I both admitted to.
But we're trying to learn.
And I refused. I'm not trying to learn, and I'm honest about that. I'm in the dark about sex, and I'm fine with that.
It gets so much worse, though, Aaron. The next piece of feedback is a few steps past scathing. I don't have a voice message for this one. It seems that a listener named Elaine was unable to get the message through to us via nighttimepodcast.com and instead took her complaint to social media. We have a Facebook group called Keep Canada Weird, and it's a discussion group where you can share weird news articles, or I share the episodes in there and people chime in. And a lot of people who come across a weird news story will dump it in the Keep Canada Weird Facebook group just so we see it and put it in here. Elaine joined the group and immediately made a post expressing her concern, and she took it way further. If you thought the voicemail was pointed, buckle up for this one. Here's what it says. So Elaine writes, I attempted twice to send a voice recording, but I got a message saying that something went wrong. Here's what I tried to tell you. Jordan, this is in response to your February 27th broadcast about the lady riding her horse in Hay River, Alberta. And it's High River, Elaine. Your knowledge, and then it says, your knowledge.
Easy, man, easy.
She says, your knowledge about Canada's western provinces is underwhelming. Alberta is Canada's ranch and horse capital and has more horses per capita than anywhere else in Canada, likely more than people. The mayor said High River is an AG community, meaning agriculture, not ag, and is only 12,000 in population and is quite well equipped to handle a horse going to town, plus the tourists love it. So I don't know what this is all about, but anyway, horses pass manure approximately every 2 hours, which can be picked up and deposited in any nearby planter. Kudos to this young woman for standing her ground on riding her bomb-proof horse through town, which was built on the backs of horses. It was a misplaced law in Arizona. By law, horses and donkeys have the same rights as motor vehicles. So here's, I'm going to get to the last part where she really gets into it. But up until this point, it sounds like she's offended that we don't want the horses riding on the street. She addresses the voicemail to me, and I was the one who said I was okay with it and that the cars could just deal with it. You were the one that was upset about the wheels of the cars.
Because I want to point out, just while we're stopped here halfway through this, well, I don't even know what to call it, but she says that the horse poops every 2 hours, which sounds very specific to me. But
well, I want to say she would know. If you look at her Facebook, it's all like pictures of like her and a horse. This is a horse. This is a horse person who listened to her episode talking about horses. And the worst thing you can ever do is listen to a podcast about a topic you know well.
Yeah,
it's going to upset you.
So, but my issue with that is that she's referring to just if one horse is riding down the street, that horse is probably pooping every 2 hours, right? So a very manageable situation. But my issue with her being allowed to ride her horse down the middle of the street is that once she starts doing it, everybody with a horse starts doing it. So then you have 50 horses on the street all pooping every 2 hours. That's happening a lot. So then you have a tidal wave of horse poop that nobody wants to clean up. And the next thing you know, your streets are covered in rivers of shit.
Exactly how she wants it. But as she goes on, so she said her piece already about horses. The rest of her message is an attack against you. She says Aaron Airport is a sad individual and needs a serious attitude adjustment. I don't need any more narrow-minded and nasty individuals in my life, and I won't be listening to any further podcasts with him in the future. He doesn't even make an effort. At least you're somewhat open-minded, although you need an education, talking about me. I'm wondering about the handsome tagline. Where can I find a picture to judge for myself? He sure doesn't sound handsome.
Yeah.
That's the end.
That's the end. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't need much more than that. I'll agree with her. I am sad. I'm a sad man, but
yeah,
it's what's wrong with that? I would argue that 98% of the population is sad, and if she doesn't, it sounds like she's been listening to this podcast for a really long time, hating every second of it.
Every second of you talking.
Yeah. So why would she be listening then?
Well, because I think she likes me. I just need an education.
Yeah. But I mean, education takes years and years to get.
That's true. But she's given me some time. She's probably been listening.
Giving you
for
a lot of
time.
time.
I'm in night school.
Yeah. And you're raising a family too. I mean, you don't have time to get educated.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. That's going to take you 20 years to get as educated as she wants you to be, or feels that you need to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am sad. I cry every night. So I can't have a job? I can't come on and give a jaunty opinion about some strange stories around Canada.
Not qualified.
Yes.
Not if you're going to crap on horses and say like bad stuff about
horses. Are crapping on us, man. That's going to be the issue. That's my biggest issue with this. But I'm allowed to have an opinion on it just because my opinion differs from Elaine, the horse goddess's opinion. Like it's
yeah, it seems like it started as like egg versus ag in her message, but it quickly devolved to like, you both need to know more about horses. Is that like, that's what I get.
But it's not keep horses weird. It's keep Canada weird. If I were to have to get educated in every little specific minute detail about this vast nation that we live in, then it would be literally impossible to do this show.
Yeah. Do you remember?
We are simply two guys that know enough to get out of bed in the morning. We know that much. We do it every day. I get out of bed. You get out of bed. Yes, I'm sad, but I take a shower every single day. I put on clothes. Right now I'm wearing pants and a shirt. I know enough to do that. I really do. I have the internet. I pay my bills. I have a computer in front of me that I can connect to Zoom to talk with my friend Jordan about just weird stories that happen around this country. And we've never at one point in time ever proclaimed to be experts in any of the subjects that you and I talked about, because the regular everyday person is not an expert in anything, but you still sit down and you have conversations with each other about any topic that you want to talk about, because that's what this show is. It is just a conversation that you and I are having about weird stories around the country, and that's just it. So if she doesn't get that, then good riddance, Elaine, the horse princess of everywhere Canada.
I appreciate her feedback. She wasn't that pointed at me. I admit I do need an education. I make a weird stories podcast for a living. I probably could have done better if I had an education. I agree with her.
No, the education thing doesn't make any sense. It's just, you can't be educated in absolutely everything.
Do you remember the time we did a story about bees? And I remember in like the live chat on the YouTube channel, someone said like, as a beekeeper, I'm loving this section. That's the energy you need. If you're listening to a podcast you enjoy and they start talking about something you know about, you need to just find the humor in it, because they're not going to get it right. That's the dirty secret of not only podcasts and whatever, the media in general. If the media does a story, whether it's CBC or Keep Canada Weird or anyone, if they do a story about your industry or your, the thing that you're knowledgeable about, they're going to get it wrong, because they're not, they're just stopping off there and doing a little story and moving on. They're not going to dedicate their lives to knowing all about horses. I don't know.
And then she tries. I mean, the biggest thing is she starts to try and say, "Oh, I don't think he's handsome," or whatever. Like the handsome nickname is just I mean, we've told the story in the early days of this podcast, is the where that nickname comes from. We played in a band together and we had stage names, which is kind of a fun thing that we just did, that you and I did together. And mine, since I was the front man, was Handsome Aaron Airport. It was just a front man name. It had nothing to do with my appearance.
That said, I believe you're a handsome guy, and I hear a lot that you're handsome.
Well, I think I'm an average looking person.
She says you don't sound handsome. I think that's the thing, is because you, from so many years of like theater and stuff, your voice doesn't come across as like your typical handsome man or something. Your voice has so much character and personality that it's not like, it kind of transcends look.
I don't know, but it's kind of a weird thing to start to get into those aspects, like to talk about the physical appearance or the sound of somebody's voice when you're criticizing, an opinion somebody had on something. It's a podcast. Listen or don't listen. Just live your life.
Yeah. I'm not offended, Elaine. I hope you continue to listen. Just anytime Aaron's here, just don't listen to that.
Yeah, hit mute or, whatever.
When Aaron talks, hit mute. Just skip a bit forward a second.
Just hit mute and make a cup of coffee, come back. I might be done talking at that point in time. And your uneducated pal Jordan will be then, spouting his unknowledgeable facts about everything.
I want to put something out here. I should have said this at the beginning, but I have a new initiative for Keep Canada Weird. We enjoy voicemails from listeners so much that from this point on, I'm putting it out there to the world. If your voicemail is played on the show, email me when you hear it, and I'm going to send you something as a thank you. Anyone who has a voicemail played from this point on, I'm saying this on the 5th of March, 2024, including you, Elaine, email me and let me know that we aired your voicemail, and I'm going to respond to ask you for your mailing address, and I will send you some Keep Canada Weird swag in the mail. And for anyone who's never contacted the show before, if you go to nighttimepodcast.com, you click on contact, a little app is there, and you hit record and you say whatever you want, and it emails it to Aaron and I to play on the show. And if your voicemail is played, you can email me and I will send you something nice. Do you think that's fair to do, Aaron?
That's fair. And if Elaine does tune into next week's episode,
she's going to hate it.
Maybe she'll love it because we're talking about Elaine, and maybe Elaine loves to hear about Elaine. And maybe Elaine loves to hear my voice saying her name over and over again. Elaine. But let's have her on the show. Let's get her on and let's have a face-to-face.
Ooh, that is a great idea. Elaine.
So let's call that out.
We don't shy away from criticism. We don't shy away from controversy. Yeah, I'd have her on, and you two can just figure it out.
And I want us to come to a mutual understanding of each other. If we were to actually have a Zoom face-to-Zoom face conversation, and maybe Elaine and I can find some common ground and some things that we have in common, and then maybe by the end of it, a better understanding of each other, and we'll both be able to move forward as better people.
And we can all keep Canada weird together in peace.
Yeah, and peace, man.
Let's wrap this up. We've been through a lot. What a roller coaster. When controversy rears its ugly head on this show, we have sleepless nights. We have all sorts of problems. This one I just want to put behind us. So yeah, Elaine, contact us. We'll have you on. Anyone whose voicemail was aired, email nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll send you something special.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
I haven't eaten eggs since all this started. I just can't.
And Jordan, until next time. I don't want to hear about eggs again unless it's a story in math news.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us also call out for even greater support in this. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, let us know about that. And if you have any thoughts, theories, or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we want to hear about that as well. The best way to reach us is by sending a voice memo at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And as I said during the show, if your message makes it to air, I'll send you a free swag pack by mail. We're excited to hear from you. Now, before we wrap things up, I'm going to end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provided the show's intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, including you, Elaine. Without your interest and your support, Nighttime would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Melissa, Laura, and Ryan, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of the show, but the premium feed also gives you the episodes 2 days early, gives them to you ad-free, and gives you access to a full back catalog of nighttime episodes. If that sounds like something you'd like, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know what we're doing here. We appreciate your support in growing this. Now until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Oh, it's not over. I prepared all of this, our topics and our voicemails were all prepared last night. I think I got 3 more today. Let's just listen to one last one before we go.
Just for fun. Yeah.
I got a voicemail literally 15 minutes before we started recording. This is from Stephanie.
Hi, Jordan and handsome Aaron Airport. This is Steph, but you can think of me as your Alberta correspondent. I'm calling with a response to your recent story on the, I'm just going to call her the High River Horsewoman.
High River Horsewoman.
Who I also find a tad annoying, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Anyway, this is about your questioning of why the mayor called their town an egg town. I think this might be a classic case of Canadian dialect confusion. When you heard egg, EGG, I think what he actually said was ag, AG, short for agricultural. I don't know if that's a thing in your neck of the woods, but here we will sometimes call agriculture just ag.
That's how it's done. That was a
yeah, I love that one. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, I just love that she also found the horsewoman annoying.
Yeah, she was on your team.